Hi folks, trust you guys are doing well. I'm going to be talking about how to build a visual brand for social media. Before that, I thought I'll take a moment and introduce myself. My name is Balaji. I'm a brand strategist and a design coach based out of Toronto, Canada. I help solopreneurs and creators build a hero brand and have a standout brand identity for themselves in this creator economy. Over the past few years, I have seen and worked with some amazing creators and solopreneurs looking to build a personal brand through content and deliver top-notch value, because value builds advocacy, authority, trust, and confidence, and all of that put together builds a strong personal brand. So the problem here was they were coming up with top-notch content, but when putting it into content, their time and imagination was getting diluted, and that was a big bottleneck. So that's why I jump in and I run a program and I help them understand the design fundamentals, and I help them with their brand identity and help them get connected with their brands at deeper levels, which in turn influences their audience. So they end up building stronger brands and building a strong business around it. That's pretty much what I do. So now let's jump on to the topic. So before we answer how to build a visual brand, let's take a moment and answer why we need to be building a visual brand. There are very many reasons, but I picked the top 4 and let's go into detail and see what's in store. Whether we like it or not, we are going to become recognizable. People are going to build reputation, positive or negative. People are always looking for inspiration on social media. And having said all of that, how do we improve all of that? It's anyway going to be built. How do we improve that? So visual branding is a great way to do that. So branding is a common word. What is the term visual doing here? So I want to take you through how humans consume visuals. I have some statistics that I want to share with you, which I found fascinating. I want you to look at all of these numbers. 70% of all our sensory receptors are in our eye. 50% of our brain happens in visual processing. And we get a sense of a visual scene in less than 1/10 of a second. That's how quick we process visuals. So that's where we should take the most advantage of going forward. Now look at these numbers. People remember 20% of what they read, only 10% of what they hear and listen to, but they remember 80% of what they see. So that's the human context when it comes to visuals. So that's why a visual brand is so much more important. So let's jump in and dig deep into this. So let's jump into each of this. Let's first talk about recognition. So I want you to take a step back and relax and think of coffee. When you think of coffee, what is it that you remember? What is the brand that comes to your mind? It's probably Starbucks. When you think of Starbucks, the first thing that probably should come to your mind is the green color, and then everything else. When you think of an ice cream, maybe Baskin-Robbins or a local brand in your neighborhood, the first thing that comes to your mind would probably be the color. Let's say the pink and the blue color from Houston Baskin-Robbins. When you think of movies, it's Netflix, probably the red and black. So the first thing that we look at is the color and how they have used color in all their branding. So that's the power of using colors in your brand. They have not used too many colors. They've been very consistent with it. And the way and the placement of all of that is how you remember them. So they've left back a visual cue for you to remember them instantaneously. So that's a huge part when it comes to building your visual brand. Now, how does recognition help? So once you've built this and when people can recognize you really well, let's go to a quick example. So let's say you are a mindset coach. a friend of yours is chatting with another friend of theirs who has some issues with mindset. Let's say if they can recognize your brand, let's say Mind is your business. I made this up. So if that is something that people have already recognized your brand as, that moment they are going to remember you, the image of your brand. They effortlessly will get reminded and they'll associate, and then that person is going to um, tell his friend, hey, you know what, I know somebody like this, why don't you go look them up on Instagram? That's how business comes, referrals happen, and that's the power of recognition. Brand recognition is not necessarily only for major brands, but for small personal brands it can still work like a gem. So that's what I mean by improving recognition using visual brand. The next one is reputation. Whether we like it or not, positive or negative, reputation happens organically. We just cannot help it. But we have to guide the perception. Messaging is one part to create differentiation, definitely, but many people misses visually also you can create that differentiation. It is easy to do it if you understand and start your branding, understand with the brand strategy as the foundation and build everything over and top of that. You built your messaging, you also build your visual strategy depending upon your the platform that you want to be in. So you have that differentiation also built in. You probably have 10x more chances of being recognized and also having a positive reputation. And once you do that consistently, you might not be easily comparable. This is a huge win if you're a small personal brand. Once you start getting compared, then you're lost in the noise. You have to stand out. If not, you'll be competing only with price and not with value. People are only then going to be looking on the price aspect and not the value aspect, because value is where the differentiation happens. And also, if you're charging a high ticket, or if you're a coach and you offer a high ticket program, the look and feel, the way in which you presented yourself, all of that justifies the higher pricing. People will be willing to pay if all of that is all addressed consistently across all touch points. That also justifies higher pricing. So there are a lot of things involved in reputation, so we have to be aware, and visually how you stand out plays a major role. This is probably a very interesting point in this building and why you should build a visual brand. Ask, why do you think people will pay 2x more for an iMac but think $50 is too expensive in Costco? Have you ever thought about it? That's how the human psychology works. So let me give you an example. Look at this. It is because of the strong display of the outcomes connect instantly. Minimal design, thin design, excellent colors, they are pretty much not comparable. It seems very innovative and it's easy to remember. See, once you throw in all of these components, the human mind will nurture it for you. You might tell one story, but they can make the story really big within their minds, because they will then imagine how they're going to be using it, how innovative they could start to use it, and what could be the outcome out of it. They'll all start building story around it. So that's how iMac has inspired a lot of people, and that's why it is a brand that is super expensive, but people still love it, will go for it, and will not compare it with anything else, and they feel good using it. So that's how you showcase and display the outcomes. Let's say you put your content in a certain visual fashion that is very easy to read, has a lot of value in it, and it's so easily consumable, and consistently you keep doing it, all of that adds so much storytelling at the back of the mind of your audience, and that's how you inspire people, and that's how your brand or the brand color and the way in which you display your content, all of that um, inspires them in so many at so many deeper levels. I'll also show you a few examples of what I mean by that. Next one is trust and confidence. This is something that can never be negotiated, right? So that's why I keep telling a lot of my clients and my audience on social media, consider LinkedIn or Instagram, which are two major platforms. Consider them as your landing page, because that has a repository of your work and its value stacked literally every other day, and it's constantly updated. Unlike a web page, you spend a ton of money, build a web page, and probably for a year you would never change it. But here you're constantly updating. People will get the present flavor of you, and people can also see how much you have improved as a creator, as a value giver over time, because people are watching you. And make sure it is easy for you to consume, easy for them to consume. So once you make it easy, when you constantly update, when they see a ton of value and it's a huge repository, think of all of this together, trust and confidence will just follow thereafter. So these are the four major factors that are really important. Sorry, this is the example that I wanted to show you. This is one of my Instagram pages that I use. So if you can see a constant repository, and it's got a clean color scheme that people are aware of. And when they go into one particular post, then they can see what is there very clearly. They don't have, with very, very minimal effort, they get to see it. And when they see a lot of content like this, it builds authority, it builds credibility. And when they reach out to you, they pretty much exactly know who you are, what you do, and all of that. And if you have a strong offer at that point, you have a sale there. So, yeah, this was the bigger one that I wanted to show you. Right? So that's why I always tell this to my audience. Thinking gives you courage. That's how you come up with content. It's a brand design that gives you the confidence, because content is one, putting them into consumable design, consumable content, that's when value goes out. If not, it gets lost. So thinking gives you courage, design gives you confidence, right? So I think these are the few reasons why you should be building a personal brand. Now let's move on to the main topic, how to build a visual brand. The main thing is, as I kept on telling you, it is content, 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 and the value that you bring out of content, right? Everybody tells this, everybody does this really well, but the main thing that people miss is the design aspect of it. Again, this design is not graphic design. Again, this is something that I want to point out. People think you have to be a graphic designer. No, you do not have to be a graphic designer for this. It is just understanding the basic design fundamentals. So I would say excellent content is lost in bad design. It's clearly because of readability and hierarchy. When I use the word hierarchy, it is not a big jargon that it is for graphic designers. Hierarchy is how you guide the audience to what to see first, what to see next, and how you guide them to consume your content. I also have an example that I'll show you, which you would find it really interesting. See, content through design should aim to build intelligence over information. Content is information, good information, excellent information, don't get me wrong. It is only through design you can build intelligence over that information. And here's an example for you. So this is somebody looking to build a personal brand. She's a wellness coach. So this is how her content is. So she's looking for 5 women over 30 years, over 30, who are ready to lose 10 to 20 lbs before summer. And this is too much of content. Nobody is going to read it. Nobody's going to spend time, because as I told you, people keep on scrolling. They will probably, if it is one notch difficult for them to read, they're going to move away. So what is wrong with this? The personal branding completely doesn't stand out. It is just an image of hers, and like her, there would be 100 people putting images like that. So as I told you, she's already lost in the noise. Content is very poorly placed. Pretty much it's very bland. The visual hierarchy that I've been talking about is completely missing here. There are no elements or attention attention or enthusiasm. There's nothing here. The visual choices are completely uninspiring. It lacks differentiation. She's yet another coach. Call to action seems very fragile, or that's what everybody puts. So now if you take a cue of whatever we spoke, this is what we're seeing right now, right? So now, using the same thing without any change in the content, I've come up with something that I'll show you. So same content. So the first thing that people would see is lose 10 to 20 lbs before summer. That's the main theme of this post. So immediately there are 10 to 12, there's a number here, and you say before summer. So pretty much it says within the next couple of months. So this immediately interests somebody, easy to read. Now the moment once they gain interest, then they are more invested in reading more. So then they would read the next one without giving up your favorite foods or spending hours in the gym. So now this gets interesting. I don't want to give up my favorite snackable items, and I don't like spending hours in the gym. So she's solving that also. So if you see, this is pretty much the same content here, and you see through design, it completely changes the perspective. It 10x improves the value of what this person is trying to put out. So content plus design should build intelligence over information. That's the point that I wanted to emphasize on. Next one. So everybody says to build a brand, post valuable content. And people who look, and then they talk about branding, they talk about colors, font, style, all of this. How do you club both of this together? That's the most important part, right? So I'll tell you why these are very important. As humans, we love order, familiarity, always looking for a visual cue. With minimal effort, you should be able to consume the content. We love repetition. Because of repetition, we love that comfort. So when we constantly see a brand, we start liking it because we get a visual cue. There is a lot of repetition, mostly in the colors and the placement of certain items and elements. And all of this brings us into a comfort zone because there is order in that space. All of this put together psychologically builds comfort within our minds. That's why I said Apple introduced the new iMac, the one that you just saw with such a thin design. If it was somebody else doing it, if it was the first generation, people would think, why should I buy it? But the way they've displayed the product consistently across all touch points over time and the reputation that they've built for themselves, people don't mind spending that extra because they are comfortable. They have built a reputation. So all of these are extremely important. So you can do that using colors, fonts, picking a style. And all of this, remember, cannot be just two colors just getting chosen and starting to use it. It's also how you're going to use your color. It all starts with your brand strategy. Without brand strategy, don't jump into your branding. Branding is not a vanity metric. It is so much more than what you actually see. There is so much that has happened behind the scenes than what you actually see in a post, right? So we just said post valuable content. So let's say a book, for example, has got a lot of content. It's full of content. So I'm just going to show you an interesting book. So the left one and the right one are the same. Will you buy the left one or the right one? Probably the answer is definitely the right one, because here Atomic Habits is the first thing that they want you to see, the visual hierarchy. Tiny changes, remarkable results. It's positive, it's inspiring. Then you're more invested in reading an easy and proven way, and to build good habits and break bad ones. So you see how they have used design here. So the next, so across touch points. So that's a book. Then they look at the website, and then they also have an Instagram account, and see how nicely they have placed proper hierarchy. So people are more invested in reading it, and that's how value gets distributed and consumed, right? Once again, post valuable content, right? Now, let me ask you this question. Let's assume you're a coach. You post 4 to 6 times a week. That counts to 200 to 300 posts a year. That's a lot of content. Every time you post a content, that is an opportunity for you to build authority, advocacy, trust, confidence, so on and so forth. If you've not invested in branding, this is what would probably happen. Again, same content. Even the contrast is really bad. People would never stop the scroll to read it. But if you have something like this, it shows your character, it shows who you are. People build whatever reputation they want seeing this. And when they see this consistently, continuously, people will then ask for your services. So you see this. Again, coming back to the same 4 points that we're talking about: improves recognition, reputation. It inspires people to take action, builds trust and confidence. So this is what I said. Content and content design are two separate parts. Content is the cornerstone. Design is the part that elevates the content. So once again, you see, this is how I showcase my brand. So with this, we're almost come to the end of the session. I just want to share one incident that happened. I call it once a ghost reached out to me. So one day, one gentleman on LinkedIn sends me a direct message saying that, hey, I like your brand. I'm looking to build one. Can we chat? I said, I haven't seen him before. I haven't seen him interact with any of my posts before. Nothing. I said, sure, let's jump on the clarity call that I have, on brand call. We jumped into it, and then he said, we spoke about a lot of things, and then I asked him a question. I've never seen you around. I've never seen you interacting with my posts. So where did you find me? I'm curious. Tell me. No, I've been following you for a very long time. And I really like, whenever I think of your brand, I think of your color. So these are my colors. I just added one color now, extra color now, but all my colors. And whenever I think of you, I think of this. So you made an impact, and that's what I want to do with my brand. Content alone is not going to make me stand out. I needed something else that can go along with it to help me stand out. So can you help me? But I'm having a tough time putting things together, so on and so forth. So you see, from nowhere, somebody reaches out to you. Whether you like it or not, people are looking for good people. When they find good people, they don't interact, but they keep on watching you. And once, when a need arises, they immediately come to you. And I didn't even sell to him. He wanted to work immediately with me. That's the power of visual branding. That's the power of personal brand. When both of that come together, I think you can build a solid foundation for your business and your personal brand. With this, we come to the end of our session. The one thing that I want to leave you with: content plus design is the new kind of reputation. I call it the visual reputation. So make sure you build that reputation for you and your business, and I'm sure that'll help you grow and win more clients and have a good business going forward.